the most meaningful WrestleMania-related moments this WrestleMania came before the actual event, when Demolition was inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was that moment when Axe was on stage, and you could see the emotion on his face. Because, remember, this was Axe's first time on WWE TV since 1990, and his first WrestleMania weekend since WrestleMania 6, whereas Smash stuck around as the Repo Man, then went to WCW, and then came back as the Repo Man at WrestleMania 17. Axe missed all of that. He missed the New Generation era, the Attitude era, and the Cena era in their entirety. And now, after all this time, he's finally back home, and you could see the look on his face. So I was so happy for him, and I'm happy that WWE did this for him. So that's my favorite WrestleMania-related moment, which came before the actual event. By the way, growing up, we had Demolition names. I knew someone who was Demolition Smack, I knew someone who was Demolition Thrash, and I was Demolition Squish. So what's your Demolition name? So the first match of night 1 of WrestleMania 42 was a 6-man tag between LA Knight and the Usos versus IShowSpeed, Logan Paul, and Austin Theory. And once again, Jey Uso, whose whole gimmick is that he's the main eventer, is in the opening match at a WrestleMania. In a previous video, I talked about how it seems like the WWE is no longer in the business of making new stars. What they seem to want is a collection of moderately popular, interchangeable mid-carders that they can cycle in and out of the main event. At WrestleMania 41, both Jey Uso and LA Knight were in one-on-one title matches. But here at WrestleMania 42, they're in this random tag team match. What that means, in my opinion, is that they're currently out of cycle, so they're just filling spots in this tag team match. This match, which was obviously designed to highlight IShowSpeed, needed 3 good guys. Any 3 good guys. You could look at the roster, pick out any 3 good guys, and it would have worked out pretty much the same way. So they picked 3 out-of-cycle guys, the Usos and LA Knight. In my opinion, LA Knight really needs to think about his wrestling career and where he wants to be, because the WWE seems intent on having him play this role where he's just filling spots rather than scoring touchdowns. Then after this first match, we had a crap load of commercials. Now, this is worth discussing because it really affects the viewing experience. Imagine going to the movie theater to watch a new Star Wars movie. You're sitting there, it's opening night, you're excited, then the movie starts, and there's commercials during the movie. That would completely mess up the flow of the movie and the movie-going experience. And in my opinion, the same holds true for wrestling pay-per-views. The whole point of starting off WrestleMania with a fast-paced tag team match is to get the crowd going. WrestleMania 7 started with the Rockers flying around the ring. But if you follow that with a crap load of commercials, it squanders that momentum, so what's the point? WrestleMania is not Raw. It's not supposed to have commercials. It's supposed to be this epic viewing experience that's not interrupted by too many commercials. Then we finally get to the second match, which was Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. And once again, Drew McIntyre comes out holding that sword that serves no purpose. Now, it's not unusual for wrestlers to come out holding something. The Mountie came out holding the shock stick, Brutus Beefcake came out holding the scissors, IRS came out holding the briefcase, New Day came out holding the instrument, the horn, but the difference is, those wrestlers actually used those objects. They served a purpose. With Drew McIntyre, he comes out all tough, holding the sword, but by the time the match starts, the sword has completely disappeared. Now, I'm not saying Drew McIntyre should use the sword. What I'm saying is that when a wrestler comes out holding an object that serves no purpose, then it's a pointless prop. It's cosplay. And a wrestler that looks like he's trying out new cosplay is not a wrestler that looks larger than life. Even the Berserker in his storyline with the Taker tried to use the sword. It didn't just simply disappear. As for the match itself, it was actually a pretty solid, entertaining hardcore match. They pull out a table from under the ring, and for some reason, it has Slim Jim logos on it. Wait, so now even objects under the ring have sponsors? So the next time Triple H pulls a sledgehammer from under the ring, is it going to have like a Home Depot logo on the side of it? Maybe like a QR code on the other side? $5 off your next purchase? Then there was a funny part where Drew McIntyre was trying to take off the referee's belt so that he could use it. So they're like fighting over the belt, him and the referee. He gets the belt, and the referee's like, He was like, he took my belt. Then at the end of the match, Fatu hits Drew McIntyre with the toolbox, Drew lays on top of the table, and when Fatu sees Drew on the table, he gets so excited as he rushes to the corner. Like he was so giddy and excited as he's rushing to the corner with his butt moving back and forth to get to the top rope so that he can splash him through the table. So he excitedly gets to the top rope, splashes Drew through the table, and gets the pin. So as far as Demolition names are concerned, Jacob Fatu is Demolition Splash. The next match was the 4-way women's tag team title match. The Irresistible Force comes out cosplaying as Demolition, and Axe makes his first WrestleMania appearance since WrestleMania 6. Then Paige comes out, and the commentators are acting like it's the biggest thing ever. Wait a minute. Paige was in AEW this whole time, and nobody seemed to give a crap. When she was in AEW, you almost forgot she was there. But now at WrestleMania, she's a big deal again? Where were these fans when she was in AEW? Were they buying AEW tickets? The WWE seems to have been very successful in making it about the brand, where it's not about who you are, it's about where you are. And now that Paige is back in WWE, she gets to be a big star again. But as far as Demolition names is concerned, I guess she's Demolition Suck. Because the commentators keep acting like she rules when she actually kind of sucks. So the next match was the women's IC title match between Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. The lead singer singing Becky Lynch's entrance music appears to be wearing a Cactus Jack shirt rather than a Becky Lynch shirt. Then AJ Lee comes out with a bunch of girls skipping their way to the ring, and Michael Cole says, "For the first time in 11 years, AJ Lee skips her way to the ring." Yes, this is the wrestling product we have right now. As for the match itself, the first thing I noticed was how small both of the wrestlers were. I mean, the referee looked bigger than stronger than both of those wrestlers. She looked like she could beat them both and become champion. There were parts of the match where AJ Lee looked as small as Riho from AEW. Like, how are we supposed to believe that either of these wrestlers can go toe-to-toe with, like, Jade Cargill or Camille from AEW? I wonder how fanboys suspend disbelief for this, when even the referees look stronger than the wrestlers. The next match was Gunther versus Seth Rollins, and I don't really have much to say about this match. Gunther seems really popular with some fanboys, but when I try to show him to casual fans, there's no charisma to hook them, so they're not interested. And as for the match, it was just a modern-day back-and-forth match with a lot of kicking out of everything. Seth Rollins pedigrees, then stomps Gunther, but of course Gunther kicks out, and eventually Braun Breaker interferes in the match, and Gunther wins the match. The next match was Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vaquer. Liv Morgan comes out looking like she hasn't slept in days, singing along to her entrance music as random people dance around her. It was very strange. Then Stephanie Vaquer comes out, and even though this is her first WrestleMania, she looks completely calm and in control. She's like the opposite of Lyra Valkyria, who constantly looks like she's just happy to be there. Stephanie Vaquer makes herself look like she's supposed to be there. Now, this match qualifies as a WrestleMania match, but it kind of played out like a Raw match, where they wrestle for a little bit, then people come out and start interfering, and then in the chaos, the bad guy wins the match. Now, I'm not sure what the purpose is of making Liv Morgan champion again. I think maybe they should have stuck with Stephanie and helped build her star power. But then again, with the WWE apparently no longer in the business of making new stars, they might as well put the title on Lyra Valkyria. Then, after an extended, extra long crapload of commercials, we finally get to the main event of night one. Now, I was predicting that Cody would have some super nerdy, over-the-top, self-important entrance, and that's what we got. Cody is basically the opposite of Stone Cold Steve Austin, whose whole thing is that he walks out in plain tights, plain boots, walks to the ring, and kicks some ass. With Cody, it always has to be some wannabe epic thing, like him rising on the platform or some other grand entrance. With this WrestleMania entrance, I wouldn't be surprised if he thought of the whole thing himself, where they show his previous costumes, including Stardust, then he walks out wearing that stupid mask again, like he thought it looked good the last time he wore it. So before the match, Pat McAfee is in the ring, and he's clearly there to try to get the fans to boo Randy Orton, but it doesn't work. while the fans do boo Pat McAfee, they still cheer for Randy Orton. So you have this beginning segment where Jelly Roll ends up elbow dropping Pat McAfee through a table. Then Kurt Angle's son comes out, puts Pat McAfee on a stretcher, rolls him out, and then the match begins. Now, in this match, the crowd is clearly cheering for Randy Orton. It reminds me of WrestleMania 9 when Bob Backlund fought Razor Ramon. And even though Bob Backlund is supposed to be the good guy, the crowd was like, Razor! Razor! As for the match itself, it was a Randy Orton match. Lots of headlocks and hugs to the point where the crowd got kind of quiet. Then the referee, who's actually smaller than the wrestlers this time, gets knocked out. Pat McAfee runs out wearing a referee shirt. I guess simply owning a referee shirt now makes you a WWE referee. But instead of accepting Pat McAfee's help, Randy Orton RKO's him for no reason, which gives Cody a chance to win the match. Now let's talk about Cody getting booed in this match. Let's be clear. There was no way Cody's popularity in wrestling was ever going to be sustainable. I mean, think about it. What's Cody's gimmick? It's that he's a nice guy. That's his entire gimmick. His entire shtick is that he's this nice guy who high-fives the fans to the ring, invites fans into the ring, and he wants to be your buddy. Look, I grew up on wrestling through all the boom periods. Growing up, I have never known anyone to like a wrestler just because he's a nice guy. I have never heard any of my classmates say, that's my favorite wrestler, because he's a nice guy. No! Being a nice guy is good in real life, but this isn't real life. This is wrestling. And in the fictional world of wrestling, people want to see the ass kickers. They want to see Rock, Austin, Warrior, Taker, Brock Lesnar. They want to see the NWO rushing into the ring and beating the crap out of everyone. In the fictional world of wrestling, screw the nice guys. If Cody Rhodes' gimmick is only that he's a nice guy, then people are just going to want Randy Orton to RKO the crap out of him. Look, I like Cody the performer. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Cody the on-screen character. And Cody the on-screen character really needs to move away from these nerdy entrances and this nice guy shtick because the popularity is not going to last. People want to see the badasses. Forget the nice guy stuff. Nobody liked Boyhood Dream Shawn Michaels. Nobody liked Babyface Diesel. Nobody gives a crap about this nice guy stuff. So the first match of night 2 of WrestleMania was Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar, where Obafemi no-sells the F5, pins Brock Lesnar, and then stands there with a surprised look on his face. Brock Lesnar then says a prayer, takes off his gloves and shoes, and leaves the ring, apparently retiring. Now, in my opinion, the jury is still out on Obafemi. I mean, sure, he's this big tough guy, but we've always had big tough guys. The Warlord, the Barbarian, Vladimir Kozlov, Ryback, Kurgan the Interrogator. In order to get casual fans, you have to be able to explain what makes this guy more than just another tough guy like Braun Strowman running around shoulder blocking people. And it can't just be he struts his way to the ring. Guys like The Rock and Ric Flair were way more than just strutting to the ring. Let's do some role playing for a second. Let's say I'm a casual fan that grew up on Stone Cold, The Rock, the NWO, the mainstream days, and I stopped watching wrestling because I don't care about these little indie jobbers and these big boring tough guys. And let's say you are trying to get me back into wrestling by talking about Obafemi. So, what would you say? What is there about Obafemi that you can say to get me back into wrestling? I mean, you can't just say he's super strong and he slams people. Because all the big tough guys do that. And if you are unable to differentiate him from the other big tough guys, then how can you say he's the next big thing? The next match was the 6-man ladder match for the IC title. And I don't have much to say about this match. It's your standard ladder match. But I did make the observation that people came down to help Liv Morgan for her title match. But those people did not come down to help JD McDonough for this title match. I guess they care about Liv Morgan more than JD McDonough. I think JD McDonough needs to find a new faction. So the next match was Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn. And it was obvious that Trick Williams was going to win this match. There would be no point in Sami winning the match. So Trick Williams comes out with this long bridle looking thing. Then he gets in the ring and performs a match that appears to be a tribute to Booker T. He was like doing Booker T's kicks. And then he wins the match as expected. Nothing much more to say about this match. So the next match was Dominic Mysterio versus the Demon, Finn Balor. And I was hoping that Cinnamon Toast Crunch would sponsor this match because I wanted the Demon in the ring surrounded by Cinnamon Toast Crunch logos. As for the match itself, I noticed something. Dominic is actually bigger than Finn Balor. So what's he so scared about? During the match, Finn Balor pulls out a table from under the ring, and this table is also sponsored by Slim Jim. He then gets thrown through the table. He then gets a steel chair wrapped around his head, and for some reason the steel chairs are not sponsored by anyone. Then they start hitting each other with these non-sponsored steel chairs. Then later in the match, Finn Balor lays Dominic onto the table, and unlike Jacob Fatu, who was so excited, Finn Balor calmly gets to the top rope, but like Jacob Fatu, then smashes his opponent through the table to get the win. Now, because Finn Balor stomped Dominic Mysterio through the table, his demolition name is Demolition Stomp. The next match was the women's title match between Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley. Now this feels like a WrestleMania match, but like Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley comes out singing along to her entrance music, which is so nerdy. They need to stop that because that's not larger than life. Imagine if wrestlers back in the day did that. Imagine if Demolition used to walk out singing along to their entrance music. Here comes the Axe, that's me. Here comes the Smasher, that's me. The Demolition, that's us. Walking Disaster, that's right. That would be so stupid. They need to stop singing along to their entrance music. But as far as the match goes, during the match, Michael Cole says, Rhea Ripley is not used to being in the ring with someone just as big as powerful as she is. Wait a minute. So now size does matter? What does that say about Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee? Doesn't that mean that Rhea Ripley should mop the floor with both of them? But as far as the match itself goes, it was structured kind of like the Liv Morgan match, where they wrestle for a little bit, then people run down and interfere. In this case, Jade Cargill's friends come down, and for some reason they're just like pirates, like they're working at a pirate-themed restaurant, and they start interfering in the match. But unlike Stephanie Vaquer, Rhea Ripley actually has a friend. Io Sky comes out and starts taking forever running down to the ring, to the point where she starts waving her arms in the air because she's taking so much time running to the ring. The two pirates are just standing there waiting, and even though they have plenty of time to prepare, they still get beat up by Io Sky. This gives Rhea Ripley a chance to defeat Jade Cargill for the title. So basically, the difference between this match and the Liv Morgan match is whether the babyface has a friend. If the babyface has a friend, they win the match. Then, after an extra long crapload of commercials, was the main event of night 2 between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Unlike Cody, who had a self-important entrance paying tribute to himself, Roman Reigns had an entrance paying tribute to his wrestling family. During this match, I thoroughly enjoyed CM Punk's apparent Bret Hart-inspired performance, where he's like playing possum. First, he plays possum by pretending he's hurt on the chair. Then he plays possum by pretending he's hurt in the ring and attacking Roman Reigns while Roman is posing. Then, he takes off his wrist tape, throws it on the ground, and while the referee is trying to pick it up, he punches Roman Reigns in the nuts. Now, that move does not seem very Bret Hart inspired. He went from Bret Hart to Ric Flair. Then later on in the match, he has a chance to win the match, but he's completely gassed and can't perform his finishing move. This allows Roman Reigns to take advantage and win the match. Overall, a very entertaining match. So overall, this was another okay WrestleMania, another mid-level WrestleMania. Now, I know some of you said I was too nice to WrestleMania 41, and I predict that some of you will say I'm being too nice to this WrestleMania, but that's good. I think that's a good thing, because that tells me that you stand for something, that you have opinions about what you want out of wrestling product. For the longest time, I've wondered what some of these fanboys want. Like, what's their criteria for liking a wrestler? What's their criteria for liking a wrestling product? And the answer seems to be, for some of these fanboys, is that they don't really stand for anything. They don't actually have their own opinions. They just go along with whatever's happening. In my opinion, one of the most blatant examples of this was Cena's retirement match. Before Cena's retirement match, there was a rumor that Cena's match would be the first match on the card. And you had all these fanboys defending this like, oh, this is probably what Cena wanted. Oh, this will allow the other stars to shine. Oh, this is how you properly pass the torch. Then, afterwards, it was announced that Cena's retirement match would actually be the last match on the card, and you saw some of the same fanboys defending it, like, oh, this is the right choice. Oh, this is the proper Cena send-off. Oh, this is where he belongs on the card. It is Cena after all. It's like, what the heck? It's like they don't seem to actually stand for anything. It's like they just change their opinions on a whim depending on what's happening at the moment. It's like, how do you have a proper discussion with a wrestling fanboy who doesn't seem to stand for anything or have his own opinions? So that's why I like it when you say that I'm being too nice to WrestleMania, because that tells me that you stand for something, that you have expectations about what you want out of a wrestling product. And it's fans like you, in my opinion, that the promotions should be listening to.